Welcome to the Eastern Philosophies of Education. Let me ask you something. What comes on your mind when we talk about the Eastern philosophies of education? Does it only talk about the education? Or the philosophies? So, for you to really understand this, I will explain to you what does it mean. The Eastern education philosophy stresses a meaningful life in producing an ideal life of individual and focuses on values that affect the lifestyles. So the Eastern philosophy teaches us to embrace the state of being a beginner. It is in the open-minded and curious state that we can absorb the many lessons available to us in our daily lives. Here are the Eastern philosophies. There are 7 philosophies. So the first one is the Hinduism. Hindus focus on shiksha, or the education, as value-based worthwhile learning. According to Chintamani Yogi, they believe that through education, one can attain the skills essential for living or survival, but Vidya is attained for life. Let me proceed to the Buddhism. Buddhist education aims at a personality transformation into a highest form of humanity through ethical, intellectual, and spiritual perfection. The other aims of Buddhist education are to make a free man a wise, intelligent, moral, nonviolent, and secular man. Next is the Confucianism. The core of Confucian educational philosophy is how we learn to be human. Human beings are the ends, not the means. He believed that the ultimate end of learning was to realize the true nature of human beings, become fully human. Next is the Taoism. In the Taoist tradition, institutions are regarded with suspicion. Institutions are viewed as going against nature by forcing people to be what they truly are not. In Taoism, the key is not to know something, the key is to understand it. The Taoism seeks to understand the naturalness of everything as it exists in the present. Instead of trying to know each separate piece, the Taoist tries to understand the whole, for the whole is the Tao. Zen Buddhism. Zen Buddhism recognizes the necessity of formal education. As a result of Zen education, a well-educated person demonstrates compassion far beyond ordinary measure. An educated person is endlessly open-minded and his humility beyond comparison. It is clear that in Zen education, receiving more information or merely conventional learning is not regarded as a good form of education. Let me proceed to the Christian philosophy. The purpose of Christian education is the directing of the process of human development toward God's objective for man, which is the godliness of character and action. It bends its efforts to the end that the man of God may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works, according to 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 17. This goal of godliness presupposes the experience of regeneration. As education in general begins with physical birth, Christian education proper begins with spiritual rebirth, when the life of God is communicated to the soul. The last one is the Saracen. Saracenic education aimed at the development of individual initiative and social welfare, liberal education in its truest sense. All education began with religious education and memorization of the Quran. It was a simple religion emphasizing a high degree of tolerance with the faith. The Islamic sciences, which emphasize the study of the Quran or the Islamic scripture, and the Hadith or the sayings and traditions of the Prophet Muhammad, and their interpretation by leading scholars and theologians, were valued the most highly. But Greek scholarship was considered equally important, albeit least virtuous.